I mean, you've had 2 previous promotions to the Premier League with Bournemouth and Ipswich. How did those 2 compare?
Yeah, I hold them at probably maybe an equal place. Yeah, obviously Bournemouth with the goal I scored was always maybe just that touch sweeter. Obviously being the first one as well, and the raw emotion just of that. Obviously having worked my whole life to get to that point. And then Ipswich was just as good. You know, having my previous spell at Ipswich, then coming back wanting to, you know, not necessarily prove a point, but show the fans how much I've improved as a player, and, you know, to help them gain promotion to the Premier League was amazing.
Yeah, and that was an incredible achievement at Ipswich, wasn't it? The fact that they bounced straight through the 2 divisions, and you came in the second half on loan.
Yeah.
So just describe what that was like.
Yeah, it was amazing. You know, I can't speak highly enough of that club. The whole experience, the whole kind of atmosphere, and everything around it was what really was amazing. You know, the fans really got on side, and, you know, they made every game so special. You know, the whole group itself was a special group, and yeah, it was a really, really nice time.
Now, of course, Bournemouth stayed there, and they've gone on to do some wonderful things. Obviously, Ipswich, they probably went up too fast, perhaps, and they've come back down. But are Bournemouth sort of a blueprint, really, in terms of what teams need to do when they do get promoted? Yeah,
definitely. You know, they've done amazingly well to stay and really cement themselves as a Premier League side now, and, you know, obviously bringing in good players. Obviously, I think it's just sold a lad to Real Madrid. And yeah, you can really see the talent coming through there, and it's really amazing to see. And yeah, maybe with Ipswich it was just maybe a season too soon, but I think they understood that, and yeah, that team will 100% be back in the Premier League at some point.
Now, of course, you've got a good taste of Premier League football with Bournemouth. Obviously, you didn't go up with Ipswich in the end. You decided to come here. Is that something? I mean, do you harbour ambitions to actually, you know, continue to play at the Premier League level?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You know, I 100% want another shot at it, and prove people, you know, what I can do in that league.
Now, Sheffield United came in the summer. It was a difficult summer for the club, just been relegated. Often you get hangovers after relegations, but I didn't feel that happened here.
No, definitely not. I think, you know, the staff wouldn't let that happen. You know, the players that stayed and the players brought in, like myself, wouldn't let that happen. And yeah, we worked incredibly hard to make a good atmosphere, to make a winning atmosphere, and that's led us to this point now. So obviously one game away from promotion.
Now, your career, you've taken a scenic route, really, I would say. I mean, you've played pretty much at every level. I was having a look. I mean, you've certainly played in 5 of the top 6 divisions. I think League 2 is the only division that you've not played at.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about that. I mean, you started off at, was it Truro, where you made your first real break? You must have been delighted, by the way, to see them get promoted.
I know, yeah, it's good.
But just tell us what the difference was between the Kieffer Moore then and the Kieffer Moore today, and what you learned from those experiences in non-league. 'Cause you were at Dorchester as well, of course.
Yeah. I think what I would say about, you know, coming from non-league is you always have that hunger and that, I don't know, that appetite to succeed. You always want to be one of the hardest workers in the room. You just have that almost desire to be the best, and you just, everything you want to do, you really want to show people, and maybe even to this point, like, you still kind of classed as that, you know, a bit of an underdog coming from that, and you just want to prove a point. So I maybe do still have that chip on my shoulder, and you know, always wanting to prove people wrong.
You made your debut against Billericay Town.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
So do you remember that game? I mean, and what sort of crowd was there that day? Can't
really remember. I think I remember hitting the post with a good chance. Shock. Yeah, probably. But yeah, that was it really. Yeah, and then obviously I remember like games within that season in goals. So. No, but yeah, it was good times.
Yeah, and of course you were at Dorchester as well. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was in the January of that season, moving over to Dorchester. What I can remember was I think Truro was in a bit of a financial difficulty, so I think going there, they give me a good platform, and then obviously from there I went to Yeovil.
Yeah, of course, that was your real big break, and they'd just been freshly promoted to the Championship. Yeah. To make that jump, that's massive. I mean, it's a massive jump, even from League One. Was it intimidating to start off with?
Do you know what? I found it good. Yeah, it was maybe a bit intimidating at that point in time for me. Obviously, I never trained full time, so making that jump from part time to full time was hard. I think my body needed maybe a good couple of months to adjust, and but yeah, made a good amount of appearances, made a good account for myself, scored some goals, and yeah, I believe maybe that setback at that time was what I needed in my career.
Yeah, because there was a nasty injury you got, wasn't there, which you ended up missing quite a few games.
Yeah, towards the last part of the season. Yeah, on my calf. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course the team then suffered 2 relegations. Of course, it was almost a miracle they were in the Championship.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But that must have been difficult, and of course that was the first time I suppose you'd experienced relegations.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not nice to be almost on the part of that, and. Yeah, but I think as a young lad coming through, you obviously at the time you're not going to think how I'm thinking now and say like you need that as part of to grow in your career. But really going through that and knowing what we did to go through that gave me that experience to be like I know what to look out for in my career now for that.
Now, we talked about scenic route earlier, but actually there was a bit of sea that you had to cross for your next club, Vikings.
Yeah,
so just tell us about that. Of course, that's in Norway. What attracted you to go over there?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I can't really remember much, but yeah, the opportunity to go over there was one I really wanted to take. You see, I think at that time not many players travelled abroad and stuff like that, and so I thought, to give myself a good opportunity, I wanted to test myself over there. Obviously, I ended up coming back not long after that, but no, I loved my time there. I learnt a lot about myself and football, so yeah, it's all good.
And then you pitched up at Forest Green Rovers. I actually remember you had a cracking game against my non-league club, actually, Dover Athletic, in the playoffs. But you ended up missing that final, didn't you? So that must have been heartbreaking at the time, because you would have had the chance to go to Wembley.
I had I think it was literally after the second leg of that semi-final, I had appendicitis that night, so obviously I had to have the surgery to get it taken out, and ended up missing the final, which wasn't nice, and obviously we lost in the final as well. But another thing, adversity always, you need to go through that in your career, I believe.
Yeah, and then of course you're back at Forest Green, and then you had a loan spell. Was it at Torquay, or you went to Torquay?
Yeah, that just before January for a month, I think it was. Ended up doing well there, and then re-signing for Ipswich.
And that's where your career, I would say, really took off, wasn't it? You got your big break there.
It was amazing. It was kind of one of the big breaks that I never looked back on. I think from that point, I really said to myself, like, this is my second opportunity now. I wasn't going to let it pass me by like the first time did, and I drew upon my experiences on the first time, and I worked harder than I ever did. I worked, on my mental side. I worked literally everything. I've probably read every bloody self-help book you can think of, and I really did work really, really hard, and then I made sure when my opportunities come. Obviously, Ipswich wasn't a great place at that time, so it was a hard atmosphere to really get myself going there. But I stuck by it. I made sure I did everything I could do on a personal level, and then once I did get my opportunity from one of the games, I played against Rotherham, I think the last day of the season, I think it was, and then they ended up taking me on loan in the next season. So and then just carried it on from there, and then from this point it's taken me to here. Yeah.
It's all good. But you did suffer one relegation though, which really wasn't the club. It wasn't the club's fault, was it? It was the points deduction at Wigan.
Yeah. So but that season was immense, really. Obviously the points deduction wasn't great, but the way everyone pulled together, and it was really special to be a part of that group.
Now bringing it forward to 25, obviously playing at Wembley, the chance to play there. I mean, is that something that you've always dreamed about?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and obviously I hope it's a packed out stadium, but to almost get a new experience at 32, you don't really get that in football, and what an experience it will be. I'll love every minute of it, and yeah, just really excited.
Because it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because there's the excitement of playing at Wembley, but of course your whole season hinges on that one game in terms of Premier League. I mean, that is the absolute priority, isn't it? So, how? I mean, it's a cliche about managing the occasion, but it's true, isn't it? And what sort of, what preparation are you doing to make sure that you do manage the occasion?
Nothing different. I've been very lucky to have played in massive games in my career, and the way I see it is, it's just be yourself. You don't need to change anything. You need to be relaxed. Like I said, I keep saying I'll draw upon my experience of playing in other big games, and just do everything I normally do, how I would approach every single game.
Now, Sunderland, formidable opponents, obviously third v fourth, so probably both teams there on merit. What did you make of the two games against them this season?
I think the first one in January, I can't remember the second one. I don't think I played the second one. I think I was injured. But a good side. I think we know what to expect from them. There are some good players, some good young players as well, and should turn up for an exciting game.
Now, Kieffer, of course, the team was in a great position in terms of getting an automatic, and of course there was that bad week that effectively cost you the automatic spot. But you were able to reset quite quickly, especially after the Burnley game, I think. Has that been useful, that you've actually had a couple of weeks of the regular season to go before you had to prepare for the playoffs, that you had time to get it out of the system? Yeah,
100%. Yeah, of course, essentially our season maybe got defined by that bad week, but that that in football that happens. We just so happen to have a bad week on that week, and that's that. We're fine with that. We know, where we've got our heads around that, and straight away we were like, right, well, we know what to do now. Almost like our fate's set. We'll work hard on everything we need to do, and just push that out.
Now, how important has it been to have actually a fan as the manager? Sheffield born and bred, loves the club, a legend here. I mean, that must sort of, gravitate onto the players. Yeah,
100%. You can really tell come the derby days, and it was amazing. I think, having the gaffer as our manager, it really comes across as what playing for this club means. Not just not just to him and wearing that shirt. It's what it means to the fans, what it means to the city, everyone involved. It's such a privilege.
And of course, I know there's a points deduction, which means it was 90 points, but it was 92 that the team got. That's 2 points per game. Most clubs get automatically promoted with that. So surely you reflect on a good season.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we've done incredibly well. Come the start of the season, I think all the signings we had to make, and I think we used our squad very well. Using a lot of young lads that maybe haven't played a lot in their careers, and I think from where we were and where we are now, we've done extraordinarily well for the season.
And just finally, I'm assuming lots of friends and family are going. I'm assuming all your ticket allocation has gone.
Sorry, for the Wembley game. So no, like I said, it's what an occasion. A lot of my family haven't been to Wembley, so for them to see me play there would be amazing.